If everybody can put your phones on silent, please, we're going to start the class. So nice to have you guys here. You are where your thoughts are, so make your thoughts where you want to be. If you came here to learn something new, it's going to be hard to do that while you're on Instagram. So I'm just giving you a quick tip. This is also good in life, in general. When your kids come up to you and they say, Abba, Abba, and then you're on your phone, you say, what? And then they start acting out because they feel like you're not there, but you are there. What do you mean? I'm here, I'm listening. But Rabbi Nachman brings the secret, which is that you are where your thoughts are. And this is the introduction to our lesson tonight. So before I teach the lesson, I want to tell you a joke that I heard. It was actually a real thing that happened, and I find it rather funny. However, the issue is that Ashkenazim and Sephardim have very different humor. So if I hear crickets, there is one Ashkenazi person I see here. So hopefully I'll get some laughs there. But I'm hoping you'll all think it's funny. Okay? So in Parliament in Israel, it's different than the government in America. Everyone wears ties here, and they gel their hair a certain way. They get tan, and they get like plastic surgery, so they look, like they never aged, even though they're like 80. But in Israel, they're not busy with all that. They just come, and they have their like cafe and their cookies, and they sit down, and they just start screaming at each other. So there was two main people from different parties. One of them, he's a guy, I forget what his name is, and one of them is a woman. So these are two very powerful people in Israel making decisions for the whole country. And they were getting so frustrated with each other in the meeting that the woman said to the guy, if I was your wife, I would poison your drink. Because he had a drink in front of him. And he responded without a second. He said, and if I was your husband, I would drink it. Did you get it? You liked it, right? It's a very funny joke. I'm sure I just botched the entire thing, but hopefully you got something from it. But it's very important to laugh. Rabbi Nachman says that I've tried many different things in life, but I came to this conclusion. I tell you, you have to be b'simcha all the time. However, I figured out it's impossible to always be happy unless you're silly. So even though we intuitively feel that when we're silly sometimes, it eases the load of life. And it makes us feel a little better even though the situation hasn't changed. So there's a very deep chokhmah to this. That to be silly a little bit is good. So whenever you feel heavy, it's okay to be a little bit silly. It's actually, Rabbi Nachman says, the only way to maintain your joy at all times, okay? So now the lesson tonight is actually motivated by a conversation I had with a new friend who was over for Shabbat. If everyone could just give a round of applause, we thank God we have a new general manager, a new operating officer of construction and oscillating officer. We've really needed, and I've spoke to you guys a lot of the time, that we really needed somebody who is talented and diligent and committed, but not necessarily in a way that he has to be seen by everybody, but that he's able to make everything work in the back. We've had a lot of hard time finding that, and we've been praying a lot for it, all the guys in Sion, and all the women who have been praying for us that we should be matzliach. So anyway, thank God we have a malach that fell out of Detroit, and we're very excited to work with him. So yeah, I had the honor of having him over for Shabbat and teaching him his first lesson in Likutei Moharan. It was very special, and this is one of my most favorite lessons, and something that was very powerful for me. It's very, very deep, and it's very simple, and it's very important. Okay, I remember when I read this for the first time, it opened my eyes to something that was so simple, but so vital, so important, so deep. So I'm going to read a little bit inside, and then I'm going to come out and explain. This is the 49th lesson in Likutei Moharan. That is Mem Tet. Ki kodem abriya. Before Hashem created the universe. Haya or HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ein Sof. There only existed one thing. The light of the Ein Sof. Okay? What is this Ein Sof? So in Kabbalah they explain that prior to the existence of the physical and all the spiritual universes, there was only the endless light of the one who we can't describe. The one who has no limits, no descriptions, no barriers, no constrictions. The only thing that we can say about him in a way that we could understand something is it was like endless light. And this we call the Ein Sof. It literally means there's no end. So prior to the existence of everything, there was endless light. However, Hashem had a ratzon. Hashem wanted to be able to reveal himself to something besides himself. Does everybody understand the situation right now? You have only Hashem in existence, nothing else is there. And one day, one moment, whatever that means, he goes, you know what? I'd like to have a relationship. But I can't because I'm the only thing that exists. So what am I going to do? I want to reveal myself to something else. Ve'en melech blo'am. But there's no way for me to be able to reveal that I'm the creator and the orchestrator of reality unless I make a group of people who are able to experience that. V'utzrach livro b'nei adam. And that's why Chazal teach that there is no king without a kingdom. Because there's no way for a king to be able to be experienced as the orchestrator of his province without a group of people who live in that area, who are recognizing that reality. Now it's very important for you to know when we think of kings, we think of very disturbing images like Game of Thrones. Okay? This is not the king that the Torah brings down that we have. It's not the concept of a Jewish king either. And just to give you a little bit of a description, because I think what's happened to us is when we talk about Hashem as Melech, we get nervous. I know for me, I have anxiety that just like rides up and down my back when I say that Hashem is the king. Why? Because when I think of kings, I think of dictators. When I think of kings, I think of rulers who oppress people. I think of kings, I think of people who have no empathy and no compassion and no mercy and no love and are only interested in self-fulfillment and propaganda and agendas. And this is mamish nothing to do with the Jewish concept of a king. There's no concept of this in the Torah. Where do we learn what a Jewish king is like, what Hashem is like? We know that Hashem keeps his own Torah. So that means that whatever the halachot that apply to a Jewish king, Hashem himself does. What are some examples of this? A Jewish king, when he goes out to war, whereas most kings are usually in the back and they put all the stooges in the front and they put all the wise men in the back and they put all the powerful ones with money even further back, and then he is hidden somewhere in some castle somewhere. According to halakha, a Jewish king, when his kingdom goes to war, he needs to be in the front lines. That is the only kingdom in the world, is the Israeli kingdom, the Jewish kingdom. That the king is not only hiding in the back while all of his people are fighting for him and don't even know why, but he himself must be in the front lines battling and giving his life for his people. What do I mean about Hashem? We have this week in the Parsha coming up, Ki Tetzeh, when you go out. Where are you going out to? Milchama, to a war. You think that you're on your own, that every day is a struggle in your life, you're confused, you have difficulties, you have issues at home, issues with health, issues with parnasa, issues with self-esteem, issues with all of your attributes of yourself. And we feel that we're alone. But guess what? Comes the Torah to teach you, you have a king who's fighting for you. And not only is he in the back somewhere, he's on the front lines every single day fighting for you, with you. ahead of you. That's not the king that we think of. When you say Hashem Melech, is that what you think of? That he's mamish, a warrior in the front, just trying to clear away all negativity from you every day. We don't think like that. That the king has to be busy day and night thinking about how to help his kingdom. Not to be able to increase his power, but that he's constantly looking for ways to be able to give to those who are under him. Is that what you think of when you think of king? No. Hashem at every single moment is trying to figure out how to give to his children in a better way. This is the king of the Jewish people. And the reflection of this is King David. That they said he had nothing of himself. He had nothing of his own. He didn't think about himself at all. And that's why he was chosen to be the king of the Jewish people. Because you cannot be busy with yourself and also giving to someone else. And certainly you have a whole group of people. How are you going to be able to give to them every single thing that they need? Unless you're constantly thinking of ways to help them and not considering yourself. This is the kingship that Hashem wanted to reveal to us. Not the disturbing things we've seen on the History Channel. Not the disturbing things that we've seen in history books. Not the conceived notions that we learned about when we went to shul and they said you have to do everything the king says or X, Y, and Z is going to happen to you. This is not the concept of a Jewish king. The Jewish king is sacrificing his life, his energy, his soul, his mind at every moment to figure out how to give to you. That you should know that at every moment he's trying to figure out a new way that you should experience his love for you. This is what Hashem wanted to reveal to us. And therefore, Hutzrach livro b'nei Adam, he needed to create people, shekablu o malchuto, who could experience the revelation of that type of kingship. V'itgalut malchuto, but it's impossible to perceive this kingship. That Hashem loves you, that Hashem is taking care of you, that Hashem is causing and orchestrating every aspect of your reality at every moment. To the extent that a leaf doesn't turn unless Hashem wants it to you. That when you're in the restroom and you need one more wipe and there is no more wipes, that's Hashem. I don't know why you're all laughing. It means that you're very familiar with the circumstance I just spoke about. Thank God. I'm hitting on something, finally. That's Hashem. When you wake up and you have crust in your eyes, Hashem did that. Hashem is not like in a shul and here in the Aron, and he's not anywhere else. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. But because he's everywhere, it's too intense for us to experience as he is. And for this reason, we don't see him anywhere. So how do we get to experience that Hashem loves us? How do we get to experience that Hashem is the cause of everything? How do we get to experience that Hashem is orchestrating every part of reality, and no matter what happened in your life, you don't have to worry because it's all going according to the greatest plan that ever was? Sha'al yedei midot. It's only through midot. Now when we hear about the concept of midot, we often think about our character traits, right? Your patience, your anger, your sadness, your love, your trust. So these are all midot. Because we can't experience Hashem as he really is because it's too intense, we need filters. We need filters. Like just a practical example. Let's say you want to watch a football game. Big NFL game is coming up. You literally only want to watch because you want to watch the Giants game. You just want to see the Giants in the Super Bowl. What's the issue with that? You're a Baal Tshuva. You're working really hard on guarding your eyes. And you know that when the Super Bowl comes on, you are going to see all of the most horrifying things that ever happened. And it's going to completely derail your spiritual mission. But I just want to watch the football game. It's mutar. So let's say, for instance, there were filters. And you would be able that every single time something comes up, it just whoop. And then you just see like, I don't know, a cute slogan from the Torah or for the Talmud or something. That would be an amazing filter. And then you'll be able to experience the football game. But you can't watch the football game just as it is. Because whatever gishmak you're getting from the football game, you're also going to have very, very, very traumatizing dreams at night. About things that are going to hurt your ability to connect to Hashem. So you need filters, because the light is too intense. And what are those filters? They are attributes. And through attributes, you're able to know and experience in your mind, heart, soul, body, limbs, that Hashem is the one who is causing everything, that Hashem is the leader of everything, that Hashem is the one controlling everything. But you can't just experience that. You need to have certain attributes. So practically, what does that mean? A person who has tremendous issues with anger. Tremendous issues with anger. Let's say he grew up in a home, the parents were abusive, they were constantly fighting physically, verbally, emotionally, psychologically. He himself was hit as a kid. What's going to happen when he thinks about how Hashem is dealing with him? He's going to think that Hashem is out to get him, that Hashem is angry with him, that Hashem is hurting him. Why? Because that's his midah of anger, and it's not rectified. But let's say, for instance, that person does hibodedut for 1 hour a day, and he says, Hashem, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to be angry anymore. I didn't choose my parents. I'm trying to be close to you, and this thing is disconnecting me from all good in my life. I want peace in my life so I can experience you as you are. And let's say you don't give up on that prayer, and you pray every day, and you're learning Rabbi Nachman's Torah every day, and you're going to the field, and you're doing hibodedut, and you're pouring your heart out to Hashem, and one day you wake up, and you're not angry anymore. You know what's going to happen? You're going to be able to experience Hashem as He is. Peaceful. That we call Him on Shabbat the Adon Shalom, the Master of Peace. But we think He's a Master of War. Why? Because we're at war in our heart. And we are reflecting whatever is going on inside of us on Hashem. This is a very deep thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everyone perceives Hashem according to their own heart. To the degree that they have rectified their heart, to that degree they have clear lenses for being able to experience Hashem. So if you are dealing with anger and lust for physicality, and you get sad very easily, and you give into it, and you have heaviness, and you stay with that, you know what you're going to feel about how Hashem is running your life? He doesn't care about you. He's not taking care of you. He doesn't believe in you. He doesn't want the best for you. But that's not coming from Hashem. It's coming from your heart. And this is the real reason why the Torah begins with the letter Bet and ends with the Lamed. It spells Lev. Because the entire Torah, your entire life, is to rectify one part of you. That is your heart. All of our hearts are broken. And this is the reason we don't experience Hashem's kingship not like horror movies, but like a love story. But if you ever notice tzaddikim, they don't experience Hashem like He's out to get them. They're smiling all the time. Their faces are glowing. They're laughing. They're happy. They're easy. They're light. And they experience Hashem that way. Why? Because they have toiled day and night to make their heart a pure vessel to experience Hashem as He really is. This is your point of free will in life. Your free will begins and ends with your heart. Because Chassidut teaches an unbelievable thing, that your mind is a piece of God Himself. So if your mind is a piece of God Himself, it's always connected to Hashem. What about your body? Your body only wants physicality. It wants instantaneous pleasure. So these are two opposite modes of existence. You have your mind, which is literally completely spiritual, a piece of God, has no limits, it's part of the Ein Sof. You have your body, which is physical, which begins and ends, which only wants instantaneous pleasure. So if that's all I have, I don't have any free will. I can't make a choice, because this always wants this and this always wants this. So where's my point of free will? The thing that's in between your mind and your body, and that's your heart. And this is why in the beginning, when Hashem created Adam Rishon, after He created the animals, it said Yotzer. He created and formed the animals. But then He says Yotzer again with people when He created Adam, but it says 2 Yuds there. Why are there 2 Yuds there? So there's a very famous Gemara. It explains because man is the only thing that has free will. Because man is the only thing that in his heart has 2 different desires. One to connect to his mind, meaning one to connect to the Ein Sof, to the endless light and love of Hashem, and the other one to connect to the physical world alone. Everything else only has one Yetzer, one desire, one Ratzon. And now, what did Hashem do after He was endless light? He wanted to create people. But how are you going to create a group of people that could experience your love, your orchestration of their life, if there's no room for anything besides yourself? So what did they do? What did Hashem do? He contracted Himself. So if you can just imagine a picture like this, it's just white. Okay? It's filled with white light. And imagine that white light on each side pushes like this. And then in the middle now, what do you have? An empty, dark space. This is called in Kabbalah the Halal Panui. This is the empty void, the vacated space. And Hashem created all of spiritual and physical reality, including this physical universe and everything in it, in that completely empty space. Does everybody understand why He had to do that? Because if it's only Him before that, there's no room for anything else to exist. So for me to be able to have a relationship with something else, then I need to create a space for them. And by the way, this is a very, very deep yesod in relationships. Very, very, very important. Very essential, very deep. That this whole story of creation is the story of the beginning of a relationship. So what does that mean? That means for all time, for any relationship to ever work, they have to recreate creation. Because before they are with their partner, it's all about them. That's the endless light. But for me to be able to have a relationship with something else, I need to make a space for them. And how do I do that? That when I'm with them, I empty myself of myself. When people go see therapists, and their therapists don't respond to anything they say, they just say, "Oh wow, that must be really hard. Oh my gosh, you went through that?" Your parents don't support you at all? That must be so difficult. I can't even imagine going through that. Did he actually say anything? No. But that conversation can heal a person for the rest of his life. How is that possible? Because he created a vacated space for him. Because prior to that, he never felt known. That person never felt heard. That no matter how much he spoke, no matter how much he didn't speak, no matter how much he acted, no matter how much he didn't act, until that point, nobody has ever created a space for that existence, for that person. But when the therapist is not trying to interject himself, which is what they teach you as a therapist, do not interject yourself. Just make a space to listen. And they don't realize that they're connecting to the deepest secrets of Kabbalah. This primordial existence. And just as a practical example, for men and for women, that when your partner is telling you that they're having an issue, and you are quick to provide a solution, they don't really usually want a solution. They just want you to make a space for them. Just to sit and listen and say, I hear you, that sounds really hard. That's usually what people want. And we learn from Hashem. We learn from Hashem. So he creates this empty space. And in this empty space, he created all the worlds. Now listen to what Rabbi Nachman says. Va'alev hu atzayah shel hamidot. The heart is the designer of all the attributes. Where does your anger, your love, your patience, your kindness, your trust, your truth, your empathy come from? It all comes from your heart. So now Rabbi Nachman is teaching an unbelievable parallel that you'll never hear this anywhere else. You are a microcosm of the whole universe. So however Hashem created the whole world, that's how you create in your own life. What is it that creates your inner world? It's your heart. How do you allow your heart to create? It needs to be empty first. This is a very, very deep thing. Why is it that when people go to Uman, they come back changed? Why? It doesn't make sense. You're going to a third world country where there's barely plumbing, and the entire country is anti-Semitic, and you walk in there, and you go into a little tiny street where they make it look a little bit like Israel, and they have Starbucks, but instead of like the Starbucks, like a Rayot princess, they have a Jew with a kippah and like payot on the side. And all of a sudden you go into a room, and what are you usually busy with in your heart? Oh my gosh, I need to make money. I need to support myself. Oh my gosh, I need to find this person to marry. I need someone to love me. Oh my gosh, I need to further myself. I need people to honor me. Oh my gosh, I need this and I need that. I need this and I need that. And all of a sudden you walk into the klois, and there's 10,000 Jews all crying together to Hashem on Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the year, that we want to finally know you, that we want to experience that you're good, that you love us, that we want a really good year, a year of redemption for all the world, that there should be a renewal of existence, that we should have peace and love and unity, and you see every type of person there, and everyone's pouring their heart and singing together. What happens at that moment is we're all creating a chalal panui. All of the yearnings of the heart for physical, limited desires nullifies. And all you have is a yearning for godliness. And that itself is what sets a person up for the greatest year of his whole life. Because he created an empty space. And now Hashem can fill it. But while everything is about you, and self-preservation and self-promotion and self-actualization, do you know what you're causing to happen to you? You're not allowing Hashem to create in your life new things, because He needs an empty space. He's creating an empty space. Why is Rabbi Nachman busy telling you should be doing Hipodadu and talking to Hashem for an hour every day? Rabbi Nachman says that the essence, the essential gift of Hipodadu is bitul. What does bitul mean? That your desire for your limited self becomes nullified, and you enter and you connect to a reality which transcends this physical world. And once you do that, now you give Hashem, who is transcending everything, the ability to create new realities for you. Who is the most miserable person in the world? The one who only thinks about himself. Who is the happiest person in the world? It was the Lubavitcher Rebbe, because he never thought about himself. He only thought about how he could help others. To the degree that you are able to nullify yourself, to that degree you can experience the endless light of Hashem. And that's really what we all want. And for that, we're going to need to create a vacated space. And what do you place in that vacated space? So we know, going back to the story of creation, after He took His light and He placed it on the sides, He then took one little, tiny little light from His endless light, and He shot it through the space. And every single one of the worlds that He created, including our physical world, received that little bit of light. That light is called Chokhmah. That light is called the revelation of godliness. But it's only a little one. And that's why it's hidden from us. And that's why in the first Torah of Likutei Moharan, Rabbi Nachman is busy teaching us how to experience that hidden light, because that light is the key. So we see that there's really two things that you need to be doing if you want to experience all good in your life. Your heart is your point of free will. Your mind only wants one thing, devekut with Hashem. Unity, oneness with the endless light of Hashem. That's not physical at all. Your body only wants physicality. Your heart can want either one. And it's up to you to choose which one. Whatever you desire, that's what you fill your heart with. If you desire your body and everything in the physical world, then the light that fills your heart is not light at all, it's darkness. But if you desire the infinite light of Hashem, the light of truth, the light of love, the light of peace, the light of unity, the king who's in the field this month, and your yearning is for that, that means that your yearning is not for yourself, because your yearning is for Hashem. And if your yearning is for Hashem and it's not for yourself, what did you do? You made your heart empty. What can Hashem now do? He can fill your empty heart with Chokhmah. Chokhmah is the light of the Ein Sof. It's the light of Hashem. So we need to redirect our hearts from the physical world to Hashem. And when you change your desire for physicality to a desire for spirituality, you give Hashem now the ability to create worlds in that empty space. Just like in the beginning of creation, Hashem made an empty space and He filled it with His light, and that light created all the worlds. But the beginning of Him being able to do that, there needed to be an empty space. And therefore, we have a deep secret. When we say Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara, what do we usually think? Yetzer Tov is my inclination to want to do good things. And my Yetzer Hara is my inclination to want to do bad things. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? How do I ever know which one I'm clued into? How do I ever know which one I'm connected to? Does everybody understand the question? How do you know if you're using your Yetzer Tov or your Yetzer Hara? You know if what you're doing is good for you? Do you have any idea? At any moment, do you know if you're kicked into the right inclination? You don't know. Comes Rabbi Nachman to teach you. You know what your Yetzer Tov is? It's called Machshavot Tovot. Good thoughts. Positive thoughts. When you have positive thoughts, that's called you're using your Yetzer Tov. When you have negative thoughts, that's called your Yetzer Hara. People often wonder, why am I sad? Why am I angry? Why am I confused? Why do I feel a lack of life force in my life? Why do I feel so disconnected from joy? The answer is one thing: machshavot ra'ot, negative thoughts. And I'm sure I just botched the way that you say that, but it's negative thoughts. Negative thoughts. I'll give you an example. That I just said, right? What would I have done in the past? After the class, I'd be like, oh my gosh, how did I pronounce it the wrong way? Is that a good thought or is that a bad thought? It's a bad thought. You know why? Because how could I pronounce it any other way besides the way that I know? I just have to learn how to pronounce it. There's nothing wrong with me because I pronounced it wrong. I just have to learn how to pronounce it right. What do we usually do whenever we fail? We beat ourselves up. Why are you beating yourself up? If you could have succeeded, you would have. You didn't, it means you couldn't. It's no reflection of you. A person, he goes into a test. He doesn't study for it at all. He fails. Can you imagine that person? Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. What's wrong with me? I'm such a loser. You don't know anything on the test. It has nothing to do with you. But this is what we do in every aspect of our life. This relationship failed. Oh my God, I'm such a loser. Maybe you just don't know how to be in a relationship. You just have to learn. Oh my gosh, I hate learning Torah. I'm such a loser. I thought learning is the greatest thing. Maybe you just don't learn the right way for you. Rabbi Nachman teaches that the Yetzer Hara in the final generation is going to be called Koach Medameh, the power of your own imagination. Negative thoughts, negative thinking. Think about what is the greatest cause of all your suffering in your life. It's one thing: negative thoughts. If somebody gave you $1 million tomorrow, I saw somebody's head pick up in the back. You're only allowed to think good thoughts tomorrow. If you honestly do that, I will give you $1 million. I guarantee you something, that no matter what happens to you tomorrow, whether your house is a train wreck, whether you lose out tremendously at work, if you only think good thoughts tomorrow, you know what you're going to feel? Happy. You're going to feel life force. You're going to feel excited. But what do you mean? I thought my excitement and my life force comes from the events of your life. It has nothing to do with it. It comes from your thoughts. When you have good thoughts, you give Hashem the ability to create new realities for you in your life. But when you think negative thoughts, you are clogging up your heart. You are clogging up the space of creation. And this is the lesson that we're learning tonight. The Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara is not some abstract spiritual phenomenon inside of you. When you have good thoughts and you focus on good thoughts, it means you're using your Yetzer Tov. And what is that going to lead to? Good in your life. And when you are thinking negative thoughts, then you are attached and clinging and connecting to and investing in your Yetzer Hara. And what's the result going to be? Negative events in your life. And we have completely now, with the help of the Tzaddik Yesod Olam, to demystify this concept. It's not a mystery. Yetzer Tov is good thoughts. It's going to lead to good things in your life. Yetzer Hara is bad thoughts. It's going to lead to bad things in your life. So your point of free will is one thing. Empty your heart of negativity and think positive. And when you think positive, you give Hashem the ability to create brand new realities for you. But as long as you think negative things, you're clogging your heart, which is the space of creation, with negative thoughts. And your heart is the creator. But if it's already full, it can't create anything. It needs to empty itself to receive new light. But as long as it's full of negative thoughts, it can't. And this is why a person who is depressed becomes more depressed. You would think to yourself, if I'm sad, it's going to change. Something's going to flip. But that person who's depressed, he goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Why? Because negative thinking gives birth to negative emotions. And negative emotions give birth to negative actions. And negative actions give birth to negative thoughts. And it goes over and over and over and over and over until one day somebody happens to bring you to learn Rabbi Nachman's teachings, and he tells you everything is good, everything's from Hashem, you don't have to worry about a thing. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, you mean I'm not a loser? It's not my fault I got divorced. It's not my fault I didn't make a lot of money. It's not my fault that I ended up in this city when I wanted to be over there. It's not my fault that my children don't listen to me. Hashem's the one who's causing everything? Yes. You know what that's called when you meditate on what I just said? That's a good thought. That Hashem is the cause of what's happening to you. That's called a machshava tova, a good thought. But at any moment that you think that it's not Hashem, and that it's you or someone else is doing, this is called a bad thought. And when you have a bad thought, you stop allowing Hashem to create a beautiful life for you. So the beginning of good in your life is good thoughts. And it's not a psychological phenomenon. It's not something that they created and found in self-help books. It's a very, very deep principle that's based on the creation of existence in Maaseh Bereshit according to the Arizal. Does anybody have any questions from tonight's lesson? Yes. Yes. So the question was, so if all of my negative attributes, anger, sadness, lack of patience, all of these types of things, desire for money beyond what I need, these are all called negative midot. What do? They block the light of Hashem from entering into your heart. So he's asking, if we achieve this thing called bitul, that we nullify our ego, our sense of self as separate from reality, what happens? We create a space for the light of the Ein Sof, for the light of Hashem to fill it, and that's the light of love, and that's the light of truth, and that's the light of peace, and that's the light of all good. So yes, that's the answer. And this is the reason why Rabbi Nachman says it's very good for you to take a time every day that you go into the field, into the forest, and you talk to Hashem from your heart. Why? Because when you talk to Hashem from your heart in a place where people aren't making money, if you talk to Hashem from your heart in a place where people are not busy chasing after themselves, and you enter into a space where everything is natural, where everything is calm, where everything is peaceful, do you know what happens to you? You give yourself the chance to experience reality as it actually is and not misconstrued with your desires for self-promotion. You're emptying out your heart. Very good, Benny. Thank you. The point of going to the field every day is to empty out your heart, because as long as your heart is full, you can't add anything new in there. And what do we all want? Chidushim. New money, new blessing, new relationships, new life, new joy, Those are all new things. How are you going to get new things? You need to first empty out your heart. And Rabbi Nachman says it is impossible to empty out your heart without doing something called hibodedut. And hibodedut doesn't mean it's a certain amount of time, it's a certain amount of... It literally just means that you are alone. And when you're alone, and what's the best way to utilize that time? By talking to Hashem. And what you're going to notice and realize, if Hashem has rachamim on you, is that what you really want is not what you think you want. And when you get to what you really want, then you can begin to live a good life. But when you're stuck with what you think you want, you're going to be busy chasing after ghosts your whole life. Any other questions? Please don't come up to me after the class. I know everyone's going to come up to me in this class. Please ask me now. This is the time. I'm going to leave after this. I'm going to run home and empty my heart. Anybody? Okay. I want everybody to have an amazing, amazing night, an amazing week. This is the month of Elul. This is literally the time that we are supposed to be finding ourselves. That we're supposed to be starting over again. That we're supposed to be doing things like we never did them before. To pray like you never prayed. To learn like you never learned. To be with your wife like you were never with your wife. To be with your kids like you were never with your kids. To experience all the things that you take for granted that you usually do. To do them anew. To come with fresh eyes, with fresh ears, with a fresh heart. To start over again. Every single one of us needs to start over. Because if you don't think you need to, you won't know the reason and the cause of all your problems. It's yourself. The beginning of Revelation of Godliness is to start anew. That means to take yourself, whatever has accumulated over the course of your life, take it and say, I don't know a thing. I don't know anything. And you take it and you place it on the side and you say, I would like to know how to learn. I would like to know how to pray. I would like to know how to be close to Hashem. I would like to know how to be happy. And not to assume that I already do, even though if I were to go into the field and talk about it, I would realize very quickly I don't know how to do any of these things. A time to be honest with yourself is very, very important. Because we're busy living in a world where everybody's lying at every moment. When I put on my clothes, I'm lying. When I put on my face, I'm lying. When I act a certain way, I'm lying. Do you ever have a time in your day where you're able to be honest? Can you imagine how unhealthy that is? That every single day, for how many years, you've never had a space in your day that you could be completely honest. And we all wonder why we're so depressed and confused and scared all the time. Because we're not ourselves. Tomorrow night, Rav Tomer will be teaching Crossing the Narrow Bridge. This was more of a deep theoretical class, even though it's simple. But tomorrow's class, and Mondays and Wednesday classes, this will be Rav Tomer, where he takes these deep teachings and teaches you how to practically live with them at work, at home with your spouse, in every different area of your life. So it's very important that you have both. And then Tuesday, we're going to have our Likutei Moharan class, so it's switched over, okay, to Tuesday night. Wednesday will be another class with Rav Tomer, so another chance for you to bring down practically these deep things that we're learning. And then Thursday, it's going to be our Kumsitz, our fourth Kumsitz, Bezrat Hashem, okay? I'm going to ask everybody a big favor right now. I'm going to speak to you from my heart. I don't feel comfortable at all talking about money. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm allergic to this whole thing, okay? But we are very limited in what we can do as long as we have the little amounts that we have. And even what we have is really a miracle. It really is a miracle, and everybody who has helped, you don't know what a merit it is and how tremendously you're helping us go. But every month, we're waiting till the end of the month to see if we can support our families. I left my job, literally, so I can do this, because I really believe this is going to save the world. But to get to that point, I'm going to be able to need to hire people who can help do different things. I want to be able to go into jails. I want to be able to go into hospitals. I want to be able to go into substance abuse clinics. I want to be able to travel throughout the country and throughout the world to teach these teachings to others. To do that, I'm going to need money, and I don't have any. I'm just being honest with you, okay? So, again, this money's not going to me. I promise you. I just need to be able to use these things to move and to travel and to help other people to be able to support the families to do the same. So if anybody here themselves feels that they resonate with these teachings, or feels that anyone else could resonate with these teachings, this is the month of Elul, and they say that the greatest mitzvah in this month is tzedakah. So you need to ask yourself, what is the greatest tzedakah that I can give? Is it to simply give to the people who I have been investing in a long time because I've been doing it for a long time? Or do I want to give to something that I really mamish believe is a new light, is a new ore, is something that can really transform people's realities, not in a superficial way, but in a very, very deep way. We really need the help. We really need the help, and we want to do so many things. I can't even tell you how many things we want to do, but we're going to need financial help to do that. So if you guys have any questions about how to help us with that, you can go on sionbreslov.org. That's our website. We have a donate page there. You can email us at sionbreslovproject@gmail.com. We have QuickPay. We have PayPal. I don't really know how these things work, but they're all on there. If you know how to use them, you just press the button. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Everybody have an amazing, amazing week. And please, the King is in the field this week. Take time to yourself, even if it's not for an hour, even if it's for 10 minutes, and just talk from a real place. You'll see miracles in your life. Thank you, guys.